IT Pro TV, binge-worthy learning for IT teams. Why is it binge-worthy? It's learning presented in an engaging and entertaining talk show format that beats voice-over PowerPoint snooze fests. Watch over 3,300 hours of content in their on-demand library on your desktop, on the go, or in the comfort of your own living room. IT Pro TV is IT training you and your team actually want to watch, which means a better return on your learning investment. Get started with IT Pro TV for teams by visiting itpro.tv/Security Weekly and start a 7-day free trial and get 30% off standard or premium IT Pro TV memberships using the code SECWeekly30. In order to deliver the maximum degree of privacy, personal data must be protected without action from an individual. In fact, this requirement is defined in the General Data Protection Regulation, also known as GDPR. What if you could reliably and efficiently build privacy into your information security programs by default? StealthBits Technologies provides solutions that allow data to be collected and used in a manner that achieves GDPR compliance. Privacy by design and by default is not just a GDPR requirement, it's the foundation of StealthBits Technologies. Visit stealthbits.com to learn more today. Are you looking for high-performance data storage that's easy to use yet secure enough for the Department of Defense? Look no further. Racktop Systems gives business software-defined data storage complete with embedded compliance, security, and data encryption. Don't let cyber threats, regulatory demands, or the complexity and growth of your data overwhelm your business. Racktop's high-performance data management platform gives you the tools you need to address the most demanding data challenges. Think beyond storage. To learn more, visit racktopsystems.com. The greatest threat to businesses today isn't the outsider trying to get in. It's the people you trust, the ones who already have the keys, your employees, your contractors, and privileged users. 60% of online attacks are carried out by insiders. To stop these insider threats, you need to see what users are doing before an incident occurs. Observit combats insider threats by detecting risk activity, investigating in minutes, effectively responding, and stopping data lost. Give it a test drive at observit.com/Security Weekly. Are you overwhelmed by the sheer volume and noise of alerts? Struggling to define priority while searching for context? Wondering why we're still playing telephone while attackers invest in technology to ease their efforts? It's time to make a stand and demand a different approach. Imagine spending your day doing the valuable work you crave. It's possible today with ServiceNow. Visit servicenow.com/SOAR, that's SOAR, to get more information and make the case for your better approach to security orchestration and automation. Welcome back, everyone, to Enterprise Security Weekly. Make sure you visit our friends at itpro.tv. A lot of training on virtualization technologies if you need to come up to speed on that based on our previous segment. So that's pretty awesome. securityweekly.com/on-demand. Check out our on-demand webcasts. Those are previously recorded and there for your viewing pleasure on all different types of topics. Including penetration testing and security training and education, as well as some archives of our previous webcast with sponsors. So make sure you check that out. Alrighty. In the news this week, SolarWinds unveils a cloud-first backup service. Essentially, SolarWinds, they've been around for some time, providing a lot of, I think, pretty good products for the enterprise IT shops. It sounds like this is a service that was for MSPs. So SolarWinds created this like enterprise grade backup services for cloud systems that is encrypted both in transit and at rest, and now is making that available outside of MSPs that were basically bundling a service around it to enterprises. So that was pretty cool. Kind of ties in with your previous topic.
That was my take on it. Was that they were literally scaling the kind of like end user cloud backup stuff into a bigger. I mean, basically, do you want to replace that vault you've got downstairs with all the robotic arms in it, which is really cool. But
it is really cool.
I love the robotic arms that are putting the tapes and the drives and all, and putting the DVDs in it. But I mean, would you
like
like
the movie Hackers when they're taking the TV shows?
Exactly. But I really like the idea of getting rid of that facility. One of the things in audit that we always talk about with that is, of course, you need to have both on-site and off-site backups. So you're going to have to transport all those tapes and most Iron Mountain. There's a salt mine. I got to go in the salt mine outside of Kansas City, which is where they have all this storage in there. It's that's great, but it's a very expensive and onerous kind of thing. And if you could do that with a reliable provider, in the cloud, why not? And it's scalable that way.
Oh God, I remember troubleshooting all that because we used to have our Solaris systems and they were attached to magnetic tape backups, and we had to run the magnetic tape backup utility. I forgot about that. I think I actually purged that from my memory because it was so painful. Because as a sysadmin, you'd have to troubleshoot that because then those tapes regularly were taken out, stuffed in envelopes, and the Iron Mountain truck would back
pull
up
and they haul
take
in,
them off
and
site.
you had your
then you could recall them. You could have them bring you back a tape.
Your 7 days, your 14 days, your 30 days, your yearlies, and all that stuff, and it's all off in the salt mine, and you had to fill out a rec form because we used to do forensics on those too.
Right.
You fill out a rec form and you send it in, and then the next day the truck brings it back, and they've got it's usually the wrong one, but they bring you. And it's all moldy or something, and you're going, "Oh, this is creepy."
That was awful. I remember.
It was a very arduous process, especially if you had.
Sysadmins don't know how good they have it today.
I tell you, with the cloud,
I feel like we're the old
But that stuff was cool.
We used to walk uphill in the snow both ways to the data center.
I tell you, it's like our robotic arm slapped you when you went in there. It was like the thing reaches out, and it's like, yeah. But I remember the robotic arm dropping a tape, and and then there was this huge thing, and nobody knew what was going on. Everybody freaked out. They thought the thing was crashed, and nobody went down there. It was this dark, creepy facility like the Matrix, and there was humming, and we went to flip the lights on, and the robotic arm just kind of like, help me, the tape's laying on the floor, and it's like, how did that happen? Then we started worrying about what was in there that caused the tape to fall out of the robotic arm, because it wasn't supposed to happen. And there was like, was it a rat? Was it a cat? Was it, I don't know. We never did know what it was. Ghosts, tape ghosts.
Yeah. Wow. That took me back. So VMware, speaking more of virtualization, well, this isn't so much about virtualization as it is about security, because VMware has acquired E8 security to boost endpoint management platform, is what they say. And nobody really knows what any of that means, including me. And I don't really understand exactly what E8 does, other than they do the industry buzzword bingo of increased visibility, painless investigations, faster response times, and they help you manage external threats, malicious insiders, targeted malicious software, and corporate policy violations. And their tagline is detect, hunt, and respond.
Yeah, I don't really know how it fits with VMware, but I'm presuming it's...
None of that helps me understand what problem they solve.
Well, but that's what marketing's all about. We're going to tell you what problem you're going to solve, only not really.
Well, that's part of... I mean, good marketing and a good product will tell you, and that can be a good thing, but
it can also just be buzzwords. But
I'm not really sure what E8 really actually does, and I don't remember, and I should. I probably at one time did look into it. Apparently, they were doing something good that VMware wanted, and
I thought it was a front end.
VMware's got to make some play, in the market today.
I mean, they're very expensive comparatively, and the problem is they're not really on board with this Cloud Express. They're still sort of thinking about
I think they're behind on cloud. They're behind on microservices and containers.
Yeah.
So buying a security company, maybe that'll help. I think a large portion of businesses are still going to have infrastructure certainly on site, and that'll be largely VMware.
Well, I mean, people have huge investments in infrastructure right now, and when you invest in infrastructure, that it's 3, 5, 7 year kind of investments. So you bought all those servers 2 years ago before the cloud. It's not going to be really something you can justify until some cycle out in the future where you say we're going to ramp this down as we finish depreciation of these boxes, and then we can start ramping up and saying, well, instead of buying new boxes, we'll buy AWS or whatever. And if VMware gets in that game, they may be able to help people transition from their infrastructure-based, bare metal machines, hypervisors, over to some kind of cloud-based hypervisor system. Because right now they're not retaining that business, so they're kind of at the mercy of AWS. If AWS comes back and says, we're not going to let people use this unless you pay us this, they're kind of in a jam.
This is kind of interesting, this next story. RiskIQ is expanding on a workshop they've been doing on threat hunting called Can You Find the Threat? And I think just in the title, like, it sounds fun. Yeah. Like, it kind of sounds like I get in a lab and I got to go do an investigation. And it sounds fun, and they're in a bunch of cities, 8 cities, one of which is Boston, and they're listing the sponsors as RiskIQ, Flashpoint, Phantom, and ProtectWise, which are all vendors we've talked about on the show before. And I think that's really cool. Something you might want to check out, especially here in the Boston area, is very close to us. So I thought that was neat. They're also in Santa Clara, California, New York, Paris, France, Texas, and other cities. as well. So I don't know if this costs money. I'm assuming if they have sponsors, could be free. I'm not sure.
Yeah. There's a huge niche right now in that world. I get a lot of people calling saying, do you have threat hunting ranges? Do you have all these kind of things? Whether it's corporate or it's just individuals or it's students, everybody's wanting to get in. It does sound fun. I mean, this is like, everybody's been having fun with this stuff since the days of like Third Pig and all those old, there was an old Korean one that I can't remember the name of anymore, but it was, you could break into the system and they had all these challenges and you're trying to escalate privilege and all this stuff. And it's really, really fun to do. It's hard to maintain. It's an expensive undertaking, but we get tons of requests for this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So obviously somebody's starting to fill that need and provide fun games and escape rooms and all that kind of stuff that everybody wants.
Okay. So GFI Software, this link was broken. It made some kind of product announcement. I'm not sure what it is. I will update the link in the show notes. Unfortunately, the link up munged in my pushing, but it says launches GFI Unlimited, a new business software subscription. I have to say, if you're like a mid-market kind of company, GFI is definitely something that I would consider. Yeah. I tested it a couple of years ago. It's kind of like an all-encompassing solution that I think is really targeted at mid-market. That allows you to do lots of different things, right? Like you can push out patches, you can do vulnerability management, they've got agents, they've got monitoring. It's kind of like one-stop shopping for a lot of your IT and security needs. And I thought on a smaller scale, they were doing a nice job and had some really cool features that at the time I was like, why can't we build some of these into the enterprise and make them scale? Of course, that's challenging, but they were doing, and I believe still today, doing a good job addressing a lot of that functionality in the mid-market.
I helped somebody set one of those up once. Actually, it was because it was cheaper. It was an entry level. It was like an entry level product or a gateway drug to bigger things, and it was the ability to do because that's what a lot of mid-level and especially entry level people are looking for, is just something. Can I just take this box and stick it in the rack and turn it on and everything works? Now, it wasn't that simple, but the idea of that is what they were looking for. They don't want to have to staff up, a giant department of people. So they're looking for these kind of solutions. So yeah, it sounds like maybe they're releasing. I don't know. To me, the limited meant it was something even smaller. That it was some more restricted view of their GFI products. So maybe they're actually going down into entrepreneurships and people like that who are all screaming for these kind of products as well because they're desperate for them.
This next one's pretty interesting. Sonatype, who apparently is in the open source governance and DevSecOps automation. We talked about DevSecOps and how we don't really like that term, but they announced that their contribution of JavaScript support for Nexus repository to the open source community. So the Nexus repository is, according to the article, the de facto standard within DevOps toolchains worldwide and the best way to continuously control binaries, build artifacts, and release candidates as they flow through a modern SDLC. And now that's open source.
Well, that would certainly be cool.
Probably expand upon that this Friday on Application Security Weekly. But I thought it was a pretty cool announcement along the open source kind of news.
Anytime I see open source, I'm happy.
Yes. NGINX, this announcement confused, and I'm not familiar with NGINX in terms of its enterprise offerings, but apparently they're trying to play more in the DevOps and microservices arena. Most of us know NGINX as the free and open source web server.
Right.
In fact, for some of our own websites, we've got some pretty complex NGINX configs, which they give you like a pseudo, I won't call it a programming language, it's a pseudo programming language that you can apply, which is very powerful,
right.
That allows you to do a lot of interesting things when you set up your web servers. They're making a play in their kind of enterprise aspect to accelerate microservices adoption. And I'm not sure how that plays into your architecture, as NGINX is primarily a web server. I think largely it's been displacing Apache, I think, for performance reasons. What I've seen a trend certainly is Apache going by the wayside because the code is just too slow now, being displaced by NGINX.
Well, and that may be because of microservices. As you start embedding all these microservices in Apache, that's one of the big things that slows it down. When you start adding all these plugins and things that are going to support feature sets on your website. And as websites, Apache was designed, and I know they've updated it, but I mean, Apache was designed around
like that one monolithic web server.
Old static model of, this is just this page and it's got a picture on it. And oh my God, maybe there's a waving flag GIF or something.
Right.
But as that has changed, and now that page is this incredibly dynamic piece of microservices plugged in all over the page, it doesn't work exactly the same way on the processor side as Apache may have envisioned it back in, say, 1999 when they were releasing early versions of Apache. So newcomers have started to sort of poke at that and say, we're building new code. So that was my take on NGINX, was that it seems to be faster and more streamlined for modern site building than what I had seen from Apache currently. Being a long-time Apache user,
we've been over time migrated almost everything now to NGINX.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot.
Qualys bought a mobile MDM company, which is kind of interesting. Last November, they bought a network monitoring, I think it was called Network Miner, and now they've bought One Mobility, which gives them some MDM functionality.
Yeah.
So they've been kind of on a shopping spree lately. Now, what's interesting is when I talk to folks who are using vulnerability management solutions, even using Qualys, everyone's like, oh, they bought someone? Like, it takes a lot of time, I think, when you're a large company and you acquire someone to bring that into the fold. And that just may emerge as new functionality, not necessarily knowing that it was tied to some kind of acquisition, which is okay. However, what I've observed in the marketplace is that when acquisitions happen, especially when larger company buys smaller company, customers of that larger company for a long time are unaware that that larger company picked up this newer innovative company with some potentially new innovative technology, and they don't understand, they're like, where did it go?
Right.
Because it kind of goes off into the ethers for a while and may emerge as a new product or may continue to be standalone. And when I do briefing calls, and this happens all the time, and they say, we're using XYZ technology from ABC company. I'm like, well, did you know that ABC company just, acquired even 6 months or a year ago this thing that could potentially help you solve your problem? Right. And they're like, no, we didn't know that. And they're looking at buying something else when the technology you already have, the company has purchased some other technology that could help you. I can't tell you how many times that happens.
That's the silo communication model of a lot of large organizations, because you've got a group that's in charge of acquisition. So they're looking for opportunities. And then they say, here's a great opportunity. They acquire it.
Yep.
It kind of, like you said, it goes into this black hole of, we now need to test it, retrofit it, figure out how it bolts onto the bigger machine. In the meantime, development division is already working on that same product, and because they didn't know, like you said. And I've seen that a couple of times where, that was exactly what happened. Was we bought it, the developers didn't even know what it was or what we were doing, because we're in Santa Clara, and developers are in Toronto, and who knows what's going on in Santa Clara. And then all of a sudden, then they call you and go, you didn't know that we just developed.
The ones that do it well, not only use it to acquire new customers, but use it for customer retention. And the example I gave is, you've got a customer, they're using your product, they might be happy with it, they want some extra functionality, and they're going shopping for something else.
Yeah.
And internal, sales teams should the good ones realize, and they're calling their customers going, hey, a few months ago we acquired this company, it can now solve this problem for you. And that may be included with your existing subscription, or something that's maybe an add-on that you can buy as an additional module. And you can say, well, just, stay with us and we'll give you this extra functionality. The organizations that do it right use it for customer retention and for new customer acquisition.
Yeah, you just have to do it quickly, because the problem is that it gets sort of lost. And while it's
not only new and exciting for so long.
Yeah,
right?
and while it goes from being new and exciting and acquired to marketing, who then has to rebrand it in accordance with the rules of the powers that be, and then testing, who has to make sure it's not going to cause a problem and create new liabilities. By the time all that gets around, the customers that were so excited about it have moved on to something else because they have no idea what happened to it, and it just disappeared off the radar. And it can actually disappear. They can pull it, while they're trying to get it bolted on, and I've seen that.
Yep. That rounds out the news for this week.
There was no news.
You know what it is? RSA is coming up soon.
Yeah.
And so
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of announcements as RSA approaches, during RSA and post RSA. We'll have much longer news segments as we cover all of the new products and features that are going to be announced at RSA. So I'm excited. Jeff Mann will be you'll be at RSA. Jeff Mann will be at RSA, so that'll be good.
I'm speaking.
Jeff is going to talk to all the vendors at RSA.
Cool.
Well, I say all.
That sounds exciting.
See how many he gets to.
I don't know about all.
I don't know about all, but Jeff will be there.
Tell him to wear his walking shoes.
Yes.
Or running shoes, maybe.
Going to have maps for Jeff and try and...
Yeah, because there's literally so many facilities. I was looking the other day. I was like, where is my presentation? And
there's a lot of different...
Yeah, it's that whole giant complex down around the Marriott there. So there's lots of buildings in the city center and all that stuff. So
absolutely.
Should be exciting.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching to this edition of Enterprise Security Weekly. See you next time.